Brought to you by 1AAuto.com, your source for quality replacement parts and the best service on the internet.
Hi, I'm Mike from 1AAuto. I hope this how-to video helps you out. And next time you need parts for your vehicle, think of 1AAuto.com. Thanks.
In this video, we're going to be showing you how to replace a window regulator on this 1998 Toyota Avalon. We'll show you the passenger's front door. The procedure for the driver's front door is very similar. The tools you'll need are pretty basic: a flat blade screwdriver, a Phillips screwdriver, and a 10mm socket with a ratchet and extension.
Start with a flat blade screwdriver, and up here in this corner piece, you pry out lightly and then just pull firmly. And that comes up and off. Your inner door handle bezel, kind of pry down here, pry out like that, up at the top. Pry out like that. That comes off. This bezel that holds your switches go right from the kind of the center. Slowly work under it. You can kind of see a clip. Try and push on that clip and pull that up and out. Okay. And then there's two connectors. They both have just little buttons. Press the button and pull the connector out. And then there's two little trim tabs here. Just pry them off. Again with your screwdriver, pull on with your fingers. Oops. Drop both of those. Okay, another one here. Comes right out. And then on the end of your door, there's a little clip here. You push the center in, okay, and then that pulls out. Now there are a number of Phillips screws to remove. There's two right there. One in behind where your switches were. Okay, one in that hole there. And then there's a few right underneath the perimeter of your door.
Speed up here as I use a Phillips screwdriver to remove those screws. On this vehicle there were 8 in all, 4 along the bottom, 2 in the front, 1 in behind where the switches were, and then the one at the door at the armrest base. Okay, now you can just lift the door panel up and off, and then you need to reach in behind and disconnect the courtesy light.
Okay, this just has a little tab on it that you press down and pull out.
Now carefully peel back the water shield. Be careful not to rip it or tear it.
Okay, remove the screws in this panel here.
Speed up while we remove those 3 screws, and then there's a 10mm nut you need to loosen with your wrench or socket and ratchet.
This 10mm nut shouldn't come off quite that easy, but it does on this vehicle. Comes off. You're going to want to disconnect this lead here. Which is your power window. And then carefully, I'm reaching in behind and squeezing the little pins on this connector. And pull it out. Same thing right here. You squeeze these little pins.
I'm just going to fast forward. Basically there's a couple clips that hold that harness to the door. You want to remove those, and then there's a couple of actually harnesses that are clipped to the window regulator track. It's the silver track that's vertical running in the door there. You want to unclip those as well.
Okay, these regulators, you can see the regulator right here, they're actually cable actuated. And usually what happens is, and you can't see the cable, but it's right back here, the cable will break, okay, and then you'll actually be able to just grab onto the window, and usually what will happen, actually you'll hear some grinding, the cable will break, and the window will generally fall down into the door. Okay, and then what you can do is kind of grab onto the window, and you want to grab onto it or have a helper grab onto it and just lift it into a position where you can remove this bolt, 10mm bolt, as well as that bolt. And that separates the window from the regulator.
Fast forward as I remove those two bolts I just showed you.
To do that, you can actually lift the window right up, tilt the front down, and pull the window right out. Now I'm going to remove a nut down here. Up here. And then there's two here that hold the window motor. And then there is a third one here. I'm going to have to just kind of pierce through this plastic a little bit. And remove this third one. Now the motor comes out. There's a little clip right here holding the cable. Out. The whole assembly comes right out. Here's our original, new one from 1A Auto. See, it's all the same, has the same mounting points, and the motor's going to plug in the same. And we're just going to kind of reverse the installation. Put that in there. Through there, bottom one there. Start these two nuts, hold it in place.
And I'm going to just fast forward here, get the motor into place, and start all the three nuts that hold the motor in place. Then use my socket ratchet and extension and tighten everything up nice and firm.
Okay, now take your glass, put the nose in first. Glass down in. Make sure the nose goes into the track, and then the back of the window goes into the track, and then slowly slide it down into place.
Now at this point you have your two bolts. Just kind of maneuver the window a little bit, get the bolt holes to line up with the regulator, and start those two bolts in, and then tighten them up nice and firm. Okay, now reconnect your harness, and then just use a plastic wire tie or something to kind of connect that harness to the door, so the harness doesn't get caught up in the window at all. Okay, we're starting to wrap it up here, and speed up as I put that panel back on. Just make sure you put it on there correctly. 3 screws, and then the nut that secures it to the window regulator in the middle as well.
Okay, we've got our switch plugged back in and our car on. That's the window. Looks good.
Okay, carefully pull the courtesy light harness back through the water shield and stick the water shield back in place best you can.
Okay, we're going to install the door panel. First we'll reconnect our courtesy light. Okay. Now hang the door panel up on the windowsill. Make sure your harnesses come through here. Put it in place.
And I'm going to fast forward here as I put the screws back in. The two largest screws go in behind the switch plate and under the armrest base. And then you have the two button style screws that go in the front, and then the other 4 screws that go along the bottom.
Okay, put this little button back in. Plug our switches back in. And put the back down in first. Then press that down in. Trim bezel here. Put that on. And these 2 trim buttons here, put those on. Last but not least, okay, the last part, take this, reset it by pushing it back up through like that. And put it in place. And push it to lock.
We hope this helps you out. Brought to you by www.1aauto.com, your source for quality replacement parts and the best service on the internet. Please feel free to call us toll free 888-844-3393. We're the company that's here for you on the internet and in person.